I mean, you've got a lot of revenues that come in to offset your
It
appropriations.
was around
For the budget, it was a
a
million.
million, yeah, it was
So
around
about $1 million.
And then the warrant articles was, I think, I got it, it was 300 something thousand.
But I mean, you have a certain amount of total appropriations, but then you got a lot of revenue that comes in from all kinds of sources. So the amount we actually have to raise in taxes was,
around a million or so.
Yeah, our budget is 2 million,
right,
and we raise $1 million.
in revenue.
And so we have to raise $1 million in taxes, just for the budget.
Just, those are just rough numbers.
So what the tax cap means is that you can't propose any more than $1,025,000 next year. Because that's how little that cap is, it's a really tiny sliver. So if you do have a bond article, for example, what's that?
Oh, you're at 2.5.
Yeah. If you do have a bond article that you need to put forth for whatever, roads or buildings or something, that's gonna blow your cap, and now, so where do you cut elsewhere in order just to get that onto the warrant?
Well, it's funny that you mention that, cause I know some, a friend of mine who, fire chief over in, Franklin, they have a tax cap.
Yep.
And he was telling me that, because of their tax cap, they've actually taken their roads that are in disrepair, and they cannot fix them because of the tax cap, they've actually just turned them into dirt roads again, so they're actually going backwards, instead of fixing their roads with the drainage and asphalting like we just did with Grapevine, they're actually going back and just grinding them up and making them dirt roads and grading them and hoping that it's gonna take them, weather for however long it takes.
Well, you mentioned Franklin, I own property in Franklin, I've owned it for 30 years now. We bought it way back when we thought Franklin was gonna be the next Concord, moving up. And then they put the tax cap in, and 2 years after we bought the property, they put in the tax cap, and our property values up there are pittance.
Yeah, it's dropped,
Yeah.
it's a depressed area.
Yeah, it's awful.
Ralph, I saw your hand.
No, I just heard.
Ron, saw your hand too.
Converting roads to dirt roads, I can speak firsthand about that. Since they did that to Tenny Hill Road, Tenny Hill Road is actually a better road now that they took out that semi-pavement crap that was there at the upper end of it.
Yeah.
It's easier to maintain, it's a little better, the downside is the dust. But other than that, it's a better road.
Property values go down though too. I mean, cause if we put asphalt on that road, your property value would go up and you'd have
Well,
more
you
taxes.
think so? Then I'd have to pay more taxes, so don't do it.
Just like you use it.
Leave it, Dust, just get Jeff out there putting the calcium down from time to time, we'll be really happy.
I totally understand the concept behind this. I guess my concern is that if there are things that we ought to be putting money away in a capital reserve, because we know it's coming down the road, but we don't do it because we can't do it this year, and we can't do it next, and we can't do it the year after, and then at some point, we have to do it, and that, how do you deal with a situation like that? I mean, Grapevine Road, we have to get that reworked. Well, I guess the roads, we can just let them go back to dirt, but there are some things that we have to do. We have to keep the buildings in repair or whatever, and
Go buy an ambulance so that you can't buy an ambulance because the other one's broken down and people end up having to,
yeah, I mean, I wonder how you deal with costs that you just have to do. You can't just say, well, we're not gonna have an ambulance, and we're not gonna have a fire truck.
That can be brought up at town meeting and added afterwards. The tax cap is only what they can't recommend beyond, they can't recommend beyond the 2.5%.
You can't add warrants.
If there's something on the town warrant, if you came in with something small, then it could be amended afterwards at the town meeting. I mean, at town meeting.
Okay, so we're gonna appropriate $1,000 for an ambulance.
I don't know what they're
I mean,
gonna
just
do,
throwing
if you
it-
say, I don't know how you do it, but you have to
Why?
have some responsibility to the taxpayers.
I-
Basically, what's happening
I
now,
understand, I'm a taxpayer too, I understand.
well, let me finish. It's a one-way thing, and then you get the other way thing, remember? So, basically, people's incomes haven't changed any since actually, a lot of people are making less than they were before, prior to the recession. So, we need to do something, at least in the short term. I don't know how you do it. This is the only way I can see, to make it, until revenues, incomes start rising and whatnot, and people are and people are starting to be wealthy again, or whatever we are in this town, we need, we need to do something.
Personally, in my opinion, I think people need to participate, and that way they can vote and, come to meetings and do what they're supposed to be doing and participate in the government, and they get what they get. If they don't, this way at least they participate, they have an option to take in voice like you're doing yourself right now, which is good, but most people don't. Unfortunately, I mean, that's where you're gonna get your control, if they vote, say, no, we don't want this warrant article, or yeah, we do, that's where it comes from, the people. That's why we put the stuff on the warrant article, instead of putting it all in the budget, so you guys can vote it up or down, you can raise or lower your own taxes.
The thing is too, I mean, if we see it's not working, and there's enough people that wanna change it, it can be changed the same way it comes in.
Yeah, kinda like the SB two, once it's like a bad tattoo, I heard was the analogy.
No, because this would still be a town meeting. If SB two fails, we still have town meeting. So you still have the deliberative and the vote right at town meeting.
Right, but I mean, you need to get people to participate.
If you
and
make
vote.
your argument, just, how many times have people gone to town meeting and thought one way, and then they listened to the arguments and they went the other way? If you make a good argument, if the reasoning is there, people will vote for the reasoning. Those people are smart, that's what I hear.
I believe. Jeff?
I agree with a lot of what Rob says, my taxes took a big hit, and it hurt in our family a lot
I agree.
last year. I knew it was coming, because obviously on the school side, that's where a lot of the increase was, because our revenues went down last year. It wasn't necessarily that our spending went way up, just revenues went down. So I knew it was coming, and that was one of the reasons why at school district meeting last year, I made the motion to change the toilet project to a volunteer thing, take it all out of capital reserve, which actually kept our taxes from going up even more. My concern though with the tax cap is, the intent, which we all would like to see, is a more gradual incline, if you will, on our taxes. So we wanna take the volatility out of our changes in how much we pay in taxes, but by doing so, we put volatility into our budgeting process. Because we can't plan, we can't do this, we have to do something different.
It's reactionary.
It is, and so that's what has me concerned. I'm all for, gradual tax rates, and I would rely on our Board of Selectmen, and you should rely on your school board as well to be thinking along those lines too. But my concern with the tax cap is, it takes a 3/5 vote to bring it in, it's gonna take 3/5 to get it out as well if it's not working. And those are my concerns.
Just as an FYI, our operating budget for this year has only gone up $14,000 and change from last year. The department heads and committees did, I think, an outstanding job of, coming in with level services, but yet a conservative budget. They did a great job. So I mean, I'm trying to keep it level, because, we're all taxpayers, we understand, I truly understand where you're coming from, Ralph, I do. My taxes went up too.
Wasn't there a move, I think led by Ted, to move as much stuff off the budget into making warrants so we could vote on individual issues?
Well, I think that was kind of a group effort as a select board
Right.
a year or two ago.
Okay, I just want, because in other words, tax rates go up, the voters have a chance to vote on tax rates, because all of these new initiatives, whether it be town hall renovation or, it's individualized, it's not just hidden in the budget.
Ironically,
It's
though,
not
we also
very
heard,
line item.
we also heard conversely from other people that they didn't like all the warrant articles, they'd rather see us just make the decision and then they can vote it up or down, kind of thing. So we've heard from both ends of the spectrum, so we're hoping we're trying to get, somewhere in the middle with this year's warrant articles.
Okay.
Before you end this, I'd just like to end this thing on a lighthearted note,
Yeah.
okay? You made comments about that picture before. The bad thing is, I know everybody in there, I'm in that picture too.
We wouldn't recognize you though, would we?
I had more hair.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Just a wee bit, huh?
Yeah, but Fred, everybody in there's dick.
That's nice.
I might have been there that time as a kid, I probably didn't have a beard though.
You were babysat.
Probably. So, any other comments or discussion on the tax tax cap.
Lee, were you able to find any
I
information?
couldn't put my finger that, it's too vague, it might have been a phone conversation, but,
We've been trying to
I'll
get,
follow up.
we've been
With
trying to
both
get information
DRA and-
from DRA and they haven't been getting back to us.
You have to do it all through the portal, and that's,
But we've gone through, Dwayne's been
yeah,
trying to get answers, but,
okay,
because you can interpret the statute in a lot of different ways.
yeah.
And some of the ways I interpreted, I ran out history on the school side of what that tax cap would have done, and the results were,
Yeah, oh, yeah.
they were ridiculous.
Well,
I mean,
just the
why?
warrants alone last year was what, $400,000 more, $443,000? We wouldn't have had any of those if it's a 2.5 cap, you can kiss your road improvements
Well,
and
and
everything.
if you're, I don't know how steady your revenues are on the school, they can fluctuate a lot. So if you can only, propose a warrant that raises local taxes by $25,000, but if your revenues go down $100,000, you now have to propose $75,000 less than you did last year to stay under the tax cap. So there's real challenges there in dealing with that little sliver when things move around.
See, the thing is, if you did have that, if that tax cap went into effect this year,
It won't, next year,
I'd know that. I'm
Okay.
giving you a what if.
but,
If
sorry,
that tax cap went into effect this year, you're talking about the warrant articles, or you'd have $400,000 just in that one warrant article that Jeff Crosby put in. Didn't he get $400,000 last year for Grapevine Road?
200,
200, okay, so you'd have $200,000 right in that, already in your budget, that doesn't assign to anything next year. So you'd actually have 200 plus the 2.5%. That isn't assigned for anything, that you could work for warrant articles.
You know, I mean, it depends on when it goes into effect, we'd have to be very.
I understand that, but what I'm just saying, Lean was saying that you wouldn't be able to fund any warrant articles, or you'd have all the warrant articles to pass. If it goes this year, you'd have all the warrant articles plus your budget to work with next year on your budget and warrant articles.
That's an assumption that all the warrant articles pass. If they don't, then
I understand
it
that.
decreases as we go.
I understand that.
Anything else, folks? Hearing none, we're gonna close the public hearing on these two warrant articles, and appreciate everybody's input and participation. Welcome to the rest of the selectmen's meeting today.
That's only the rods that's on it.
I'm blocking your camera.
So you're dead now, huh?
Yes.
I like that remark. He just looks at it. He just looks at it.
If they get this over everybody else.
Yeah, you're gonna do some mountain climbing and ice climbing and stuff?
I've been doing that geocaching.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Ice fishing.
Well, you bet.
Not this year.
Oh, I went, so did I. Drew Lake.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna go to recess right now while everybody exits and needs a bathroom.
There was 8 inches.
Drew Lake, you should have got a couple of geocaches there on the edge of the water.
Oh, right?
Yeah.
By the dam there, the spill?
No, it's so about almost a half, 3/8 of a mile down.
Oh, no kidding. There was a dam.
Somebody shared a post on
Yes.
Bags is gone. It was torn down.
Hey, I went there a couple of weeks ago, or last week rather. I found my brother. In less than an hour, I was almost out. They were taking, every one of them was taking 40 to 50 feet of line.
What's eating the shiners?
The bass and the pickerel.
We raised
Oh,
$1 million
okay.
in revenue.
No yellow perch or anything like that?
Not taking 40, 50 feet of line like that. Oh, they were taking line, I couldn't believe it.
Operating budget
Because they
plus the warrant
had some
articles.
yellow perch for supper.
Oh, yeah, those are good.
Yeah, caught ice fishing.
Now, if this is what Jeff was
The
saying,
engineers there,
true,
Bags is
then that 1.4
one of
is
the
by
best
2.5%.
bass places around.
just outside of
Everybody
Trees.
knows.
No, you're the best bass place around?
So if our revenues go down,
No. You ever even Covers?
Oh, yeah, right, yeah, that's trouble. Oh, bass.
It was,
Yeah, you were saying that.
it was,
right back to 5 years ago.
28 inches or something, 3.5 pounds.
Yeah, yeah. It's like, well, I had to go over there.
And Carl was telling me, nobody can catch anything out there.
I don't know.
But nothing with heat on the roofs. There's always maps, little rubber shiner.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's bam, wham.
Wonder if they do it with shiners.
And for a long time, we had a trailer.
Right.
Go up there with some ice fishing tackle and put it up there.
Into the building, and you just move stuff in and out of the building.
Next time you see Linda, she doesn't make up swear.
That's a great thing, I used to go there all the time.
I'll get with her
But
one day.
it's,
Because I'm assuming they're gonna have to get, you have to get paperwork from the selectmen saying that you've been appointed. And you got to swear in. Because that's an appointed position.
Is he the mascot?
Yep,
Woody?
that's the reason why, because his name is Woody. We
Yeah,
said, "That'd
Woody
be a
is
good
the mascot.
They needed somebody to pick the brush up, come on, tell them the truth.
Rake the leaves, hey, it's rake the leaves that you gotta do.
Vacuum.
So at least we'll inform people that are there.
Has anybody done a study on what the tax increases have been over the years?
It's town meeting, so we don't have to have it.
We're gonna need to, yeah, we're gonna have to run some numbers and see what other towns do.
Thanks, Dan.
No, I mean,
No, I mean,
it's
I
something.
know, it will
Well,
come up.
I get another year for
no,
school.
because if you run that and you find out that the tax increases have been, one of the.
Hey, my taxes went up over 10%.
The question is it really necessary? That's what I don't
September, August, April, 2017.
Still have confusion in my house.
What I'm stepping now,
My
another.
assessment dropped 20,000 on that,
It's only a year ago.
but my taxes went up $30.
Right.
How's that?
Right, no, that's, yeah.
My assessment went down, I think it was like $20,000. My taxes went up $800.
That's what I'm saying, how's it?
I have no idea.
How can I have a big drop, still same amount of money to be raised, but mine only went up a little bit? I don't understand that. I'm not that I want it to go up more, I just, I don't
Yeah,
understand.
yeah, I know, me either, I don't understand.
And I understand how a house that's 5 years old
I think we probably loses better over that before we go.
I lost a lot of value, but like I said, my taxes went up $800.
Because I
That's a lot of
have a doctor's appointment.
junk in one time.
Tuesday.
Every time you get an area where the taxes
Well,
are
no, you
too
want
much,
to.
I always say, please don't do that,
Wanted to
because
go
all
for
of a sudden, it shoots up like
They bought
Ralph
gas
says.
today, the same school for $1.51.
If you can wait, you know, a few minutes when we come back from recess, we'll just jump right on your email and that way if you.
Well, I forgot to mention Lisa in that picture.
Looks like taxes will go
Yep,
up again.
as I'm looking, I said, hey, this made this. Because she's sitting behind somebody's head, I can pick her out.
I can remember all those people that were
Yeah, yeah. I remember you getting up and voicing your opinion at that meeting. They're trying to tell you to shut up and sit down, but you wouldn't do it.
I was determined. What's that?
What was the issue, do you remember?
They did not see it yet.
She went for her taxes raised.
You said you wanted your taxes raised.
I said, you want your taxes raised, we told you to
It's
sit
just
down.
reiterating that.
I wanted
He's asking, where's your response to this
Well,
fraud in the
one of those
police
meetings
department?
Is when Will Brown wanted to go to regional dumping, okay, and John Swindlehurst was with him. They had it on WKXL and everything else and this and that, and I couldn't see that. I get up and I asked him a question. I says, okay, you wanna go to a regional meeting and have garbage pickup, cause John wanted the garbage route. I says, what are you gonna do with appliances? You can't pick up with a garbage truck. Oh, we get that figured out. We're gonna keep our dump open one day a month, if anybody's got big stuff. So, alright, so now you support the two dumps. The regional dumping and the town dump. Before we only had one dump.
Isn't it cold in
The
here?
town,
I turned it
the
up
town
until like-
voted it down, but
I pressed the second floor earlier.
It shut off back
It must be
here.
automated, so it
Huh?
just drops back
Talk
down.
about the heat.
It's freezing.
We all set?
anyhow, that was one of the, you said a point up there.
Alright,
Yeah.
we're gonna come back from
Will Brown
recess, so,
used to put me out of order all the time.
I can believe it.
Yeah.
Brad,
He, huh?
we're coming back from recess, so if you wanna continue your
sorry.
conversation,
No, okay.
by all means,
See you later.
outside. Thank you. Alright.
Yeah, those please for a minute.
Yeah, it must be the door open.
Yeah, the door.
Alrighty, before we go on to the calendar here, I know we also have an email from Chief Scoot, regarding the, his information regarding the questions they had about mobile data terminals and stuff. Did you read that at all? Yeah. Okay. Before he takes off, if you had any questions on it, so, you know, if I understand it, the new car that you're asking for doesn't include that in it.
No, the only thing it includes is a radio, it's part of the upgrade that we talked about back then.
And the two are for the two primary full-timers that are gonna be riding.
The two primary patrol vehicles. The secondary in my car will not have.
I guess, there's one question I know we had, and you kinda allude to it, but I don't see it as concrete here. When would, when will that service be available? Goffstown has to upgrade their service, right?
Be near the end of the year,
Near-
near the end of 2016.
Okay, so let me throw this out, cause that was one of our questions. If we do that, you know, that service, it's gonna be in the year, would it behoove us to wait till next year to get them instead of trying to, you know, do it now and then, you know, because by the time you get them and you get the service, it may be November, December.
It could be,
I don't know,
I
just
don't know
the-
when it'll be, the only thing is, you know, I can't promise you get, the pricing is really good.
Mhm.
I can't promise you to get that pricing,
Gotcha.
so that's the wild card.
But Goffstown, right now, Goffstown can't accommodate us, is that correct?
They don't have the infrastructure to be able to accommodate.
So they have to do an expansion in order for
Right,
us,
and
or
that's-
change something in order for us.
They're doing their own and that's it, right?
Yeah, they're in the process of doing that now, because they're gonna
Oh, they
need
are.
to take on us, and they're gonna take on wares.
Yeah.
MDTs, and at some point, you know, there's other towns that are looking at going at this
Yep.
much there as well.
So they're motivated to expand their service.
Yeah, so they wanna do that, there's some other things that they wanna offer, but, they don't have they don't have the private background to, you know, in place to be able to handle that kind of traffic.
So the request is basically to take advantage of the pricing that you have acquired right now.
Yeah, I'm not expecting that this would actually go into, you know, they would be able to handle this till probably, you know, October, November, December.
Okay. Now, what's the pricing prior to this excellent pricing that you have?
Well, the pricing I got was from another vendor,
Mhm.
and, it was substantially higher, I think it was $28,000 we did.
So almost $10,000.
Yeah, it was pretty substantial.
Just wanna make sure we have all the information, that's all. Any other questions for Chief on the data terminals?
The only thing I would ask is, can you approach that supplier and see if they'll extend your pricing into 2017?
I could do that.
Yeah, that'd be the only thing, I mean, see if, you know, if they'll extend it into 2017, then I would suggest moving that into 2017, but if they won't, and it's a great deal, you know, not gonna spend it till the end of the year anyway, so,
We just have to raise it, that's all.
yeah.
Okay. I mean, yeah, never know,
No, you don't know if you don't ask.
that's for sure. All right, vehicle replacement here, as I understand, you basically, you have a spreadsheet that you did?
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I listened to the audio on the last meeting, and, Ted had mentioned, why can't we just defer this for a year? So I thought, geez, why can't we just defer this for a year? It sounds like, you know, could have some merit. So what I did is, I did a study based on the vehicles we have now, the mileage, and I used the mileage, from 2015 to calculate what the impact on the vehicles would be. And that's how I came up with the numbers on the email that I sent you. I gave you two different scenarios, one was with a 2016 replacement, and one was without a 2016 replacement. And, do you wanna go over what the results were, or did you get a chance to see them?
I mean, I've got it right here,
I mean,
I
essentially,
didn't get a chance to look at that, so.
I'll let you guys share, I saw
Alright,
it.
How about if I make copies?
Yeah,
Take me,
that'd be fine.
Allison can use one for her minutes as well.
yeah,
with a replacement, we're gonna end up with two newer vehicles, two older vehicles. Without a replacement, we have three vehicles that are gonna be at or about 100,000 miles. We would have to drive the Tahoe as a primary patrol vehicle in 2016 instead of as a secondary, which would up the mileage on it, so he'd be handing over a vehicle to the fire department with about 91,000 miles as opposed to, what do you have, 72,000 miles, you know, in and about that range, so, at the end of 2016, we would have a very aged vehicle. So it kinda takes the vehicle replacement plan and just kinda throws it a kilter. You know, we didn't ask for a vehicle last year because we really didn't need one, you know? And the only reason I'm asking for this year is for that reason, because, you know, the mileages are gonna be such that, if we're gonna maintain a decent food test, we need to.
So, ending the year 2015, these are actual mileages, correct?
Well, what I did is I went back in the annual reports, I took the mileages out of the,
I'm talking about the year ending 2015, as in like just this past December, this proof here is
Yeah, it's some,
actual.
well, it's the mileage I put in the annual report.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Okay. So basically, up this one, 19,000 miles. The secondary vehicle is 2008.
Yeah, that's the Crown Vic.
We'll go up another 7,000. That's gonna be a secondary then. Gotcha.
Yes.
That'll be the same. These will be the same. Gotcha. I think on the CIP, John's got the request for command vehicle for 2017.
Well, that was part of the plan here, that Tahoe would really be a very good vehicle for him.
And I don't recall, was he planning on the Tahoe for 2017, or did he just put in a vehicle for 2017?
He has replaced command car for 25,000, warrant article for 2017.
Alright, so he wasn't necessarily planning on the police vehicle, he was
Well, I know
budgeting for it or forecasting for it.
traditionally, they try to use those vehicles to fill those voids, and it just would fall into place kinda nicely.
I think the intent was, if he doesn't get the Tahoe, then he's
Then
gonna
he
be
has to
asking,
go buy something.
Yeah,
right, he's asking for a new
Yeah,
vehicle.
no, I get it.
If we replace the Tahoe, we replace the vehicle now and the Tahoe goes to the fire department, that $25,000 request on the
Yeah, it
CIP
goes
goes
away.
away.
Right.
So you save money next year, in theory, if that goes on the warrant.
There's a lot of moving parts, nothing works independently, because the decision to do something with one vehicle impacts the mileage and the use that you're gonna put on the other vehicles.
Everybody comfortable and know where the chief is coming from?
Yep, no, I'm good with this.
Ted, you got any questions for him? I know you, wanna take and head out, so. Any last words before you head out?
No, I think I
Appreciate it.
just hope I've answered your questions and any concerns, and I apologize for not being at the last meeting.
Alrighty, sounds good. I think one of the last things besides Jerry Tepe stuff in the box was the selectmen's message. Everybody get time to read that?
What is that one?
The selectmen's message?
Is that the one I read the other day?
No,
Or
it's
has it
a,
been changed a little bit?
I took and, augmented it a little bit.
Did you?
Yeah,
No, I haven't seen this one.
I sent you an email, so.
Hey, you probably did, Brian, I've been logged on.
Oh, that's alright, take your time.
Been a little busy.
And again, thank you publicly, Lean, for saving our bacon on that, cause it's been a rough couple weeks. I do appreciate it. You feel a cold air right over here in this window.
Is it behind us? I can feel it on my feet. I don't know if it's old age, lack of
I mean,
circulation.
they're probably, yeah,
Yeah, this looks good.
generating all the hot.
Oh, yeah. Pop, when we sign it?
So, I guess consensus, everybody's good with that, then we can move forward with it?
Yeah, it's fine, great.
I probably will attempt to have a first draft of the town report, so I'll hand deliver it to everybody so that you can read it over the weekend. And I'll be working on it again on Monday, when the office is closed, so I can really get some clear thinking and
Keep
no
a track of all
interruptions.
your extra time in the holidays that you've been working?
Yeah.
Okay. Cause I mean, it's only fair that, after this is all said and done, that you get to recoup those holidays that you're missing. Pardon?
I said she deserves it.
Okay, before you make the vote, I did give
Yep. Oh,
you
yes.
this comment had gone back on to review any comments by the Department of Revenue, and she made a comment on our appropriation budget, warrant article number 3. Yeah, it's in here, it's just,
Oh, is that this letter here? Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, we do have it, it's
so,
that.
I mean, I think it's the same as
No,
what we
that's mine.
have. This to
It was in
me
your
runs
packet.
in with all the numbers and,
Just to raise them.
Yeah, I think this is hard to read.
And the beginning start changes a little bit. Well, I mean, 'cause it says to raise and appropriate the sum of $2,162,543 to defray town charges for the ensuing year as follows, but excluding all appropriations contained in special and individual articles addressed separately.
this language,
Excluding all appropriations.
yeah,
Right.
that was recommended by the town attorney, so
Well, we-
that's where we changed the beginning.
It says to raise such sums of money as may be necessary, it says to raise and appropriate the sum. So, which is the town attorney, this part here?
Just this part right here up above,
So this is from the town attorney.
yep.
I'm good with that as well, I mean, to raise such sums of money, the same as to raise and appropriate, isn't it?
To raise and appropriate.
No, the difference between raise is to tax,
Right.
to appropriate is to spend.
Mhm.
So that's why most of these warrant
Right,
articles.
so you
say
raise such sums of money, that's your tax, and may be necessary to defray the town charges for
Yeah.
the ensuing year and make the appropriations, so you
Right,
still,
right, you just word it different, that's.
yeah, so, I mean, I'm good with the way it's written,
I am too.
but I don't like this, I don't like the block,
format,
the
the
block
format's
paragraph.
horrible. Yeah,
It's
nobody-
horrible.
nobody-
Yeah, that's what she's recommending, but.
yeah.
You sure she's recommending this format, or it looks like she just wrote a paragraph out here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
It is
she
like-
wrote,
this is just so difficult to
She
read.
wrote out a warrant article.
right, it's not a bulk layout like ours,
Yeah,
it's
no,
all
I
in the
don't care for
body.
the format at all.
No, so
Format's
it's not
horrible.
gonna,
So I think it's part of the unanimous consensus here that this
we'll
is
stay with
garbage.
what we have.
Yeah, we're gonna do what we want.
Yeah,
Okay.
alright, so I think you know where we stand on that.
We'll
Okay.
do what we've been doing. Yeah.
So, alrighty, all those little odds and ends things out of the way, selectmen's message we did, now we get the warrant. You ready for the, before we go, we're getting into the warrant? Alrighty, so, basically, as I understand, we have two votes, one to take and put it on the warrant, or take it off, and once we do that, then we need to vote on whether we recommend or not recommend. So.
Okay.
Alrighty. We have the town warrant for 2016, Article 1. Choose all necessary town offices for the ensuing year. Is there a motion to put it on the warrant? We don't have a choice.
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
I don't think we have to make motions, just have to see if
Yeah.
we're in a consensus.
You wanna do by consensus? All good.
Yep.
Okay. So 1, we're good?
Yep.
2, we have no choice, that's by petition, so we're okay with that.
Yep.
3, the,
Don't you have to make
Yeah,
a
don't we
vote?
have to say
yeah,
whether
well,
we
I wanna go
recommend
through
or
and
not?
find out which ones we're gonna actually have.
Oh,
'Cause I mean,
okay.
say what, for example, Article 15, we, 2 say no and 1 says yes.
Okay, so we'll come back and,
Yes.
Oh, I
So-
thought why don't we do one article at a time,
You could,
instead of coming back,
I'm okay with doing it as we go.
yeah, let's do it
That's
as
fine.
we go.
Yeah.
I'm good either way, that's true. Alright, so, alright then, is there a motion to recommend by the board of selectmen, or consensus, what do you like to use?
That'd be two.
Yes, me too.
I vote, no,
I vote no,
Yeah, I'm a negative also on that.
because I don't think it would make that much difference when we,
Right.
nor do I. Alright, Article 3, to raise such sums of money, i.e. the operational budget. I vote that we put it on the warrant,
Yes, I
we
agree.
have to put it on there.
Yep.
and considering it's only raising it, $14,000 and everything else, and net raised to taxes is pretty close to last year's, I think, I vote yes.
Yep,
I would recommend.
in favor, yep.
Alright, to see if the town will vote to discontinue Kelsey Road, or the portion of Kelsey Road. I'm not gonna read the whole thing.
Yeah, put it on the warrant.
I'm in favor of putting it on the warrant, cause
Yep.
it's recommended by town attorney,
Yep.
so we're all,
And,
now,
I'm a yes on it.
on the recommend, I vote to recommend it
Yep.
as well,
They will know.
okay. Number 5, RSA 41:14 is basically to allow us to acquire and sell lands and buildings. Are you okay with putting it on the warrant?
Yep, on the warrant.
Yeah.
Is there a reason that we voted that in the past? Is
What's
No,
that?
I researched, I've got a whole book of,
It's in the, we found it the other night when we were
I
researching.
talked to Brett
something.
tonight.
Oh, you did?
and I
Okay,
read it.
this is different?
No, it's that RSA, but the results of the meeting goes about 9 pages, and then at the top of the page it says defeated. So it did not pass.
It did not pass?
Mm-mm.
Oh, I thought we've been operating under that for the last 9
And
years.
the problem with this is that,
There are 3 different warrant articles
Yeah.
that deal with this. This particular one has to do with giving the selectmen the authority to
Right.
buy and sell land or buildings.
So they haven't had that authority
No.
all these
No.
years?
yeah.
There's
Oh, that's
also ones for
interesting, okay.
roads, and there's other ones.
Well, there's a difference between gifts, and there's a difference between accepting a road on a plat by the planning board. Those
Right.
we've adopted.
Right,
Two out
But
of the
this
3.
one
so we haven't disposed of any
specifically
land.
would also governs easements, for example. If someone wanted to give town easement on their private property, this has to be in place. Cause
Well,
that's, it's,
No, that doesn't have to be.
No, you're right. it
no,
doesn't
you're
have
right,
to.
Because
No.
they could come to town meeting.
right,
See, right now,
Okay,
for,
I had forgotten we hadn't passed that, I thought we
Yeah,
passed
okay.
it.
yeah,
Alright.
no.
Alright,
Okay, sorry.
yep, no problem. So,
I'm a yes on that one.
to put it on or to take and
Yeah,
recommend?
yeah, in both.
So you all agree to put it on the warrant, right?
yeah, we can put it on the warrant. Yeah, no problem. I never had a problem putting it on the warrant. Okay.
Alright, I'm in favor of recommending it, I think it gives flexibility to the town and it also still has plenty of,
Well, the-
checks and balances.
Yeah,
to
the
keep.
process is pretty lengthy, it
It
isn't like
is.
it's one and done, it's,
Exactly,
you know, got a pretty good check and balance process.
right, so that way you don't have to call for a special town meeting or wait till March, you know,
Right.
so,
I know.
you know, so,
2 and 1?
one. That's fine. Alright, see if the town will vote to adopt the provisions of RSA 32:5-B, i.e. the tax cap by petition, so it's on, I think it's on the warrant.
It's on it, yeah.
What do you gentlemen say far as recommendation?
I don't know.
I know.
I'm a no.
Did I hear 3 no's?
Yeah.
Okay.
Number 7, see if the town will
Okay,
vote
can
to.
I make a comment before we go on to the warrants that have to do with the tax impact?
Yeah.
All I'd like to say is, and for some reason or other, I know I haven't been feeling well for a long time now, but when I first became a selectman 4 years ago,
Mhm.
when it came time to set the tax rate in my first year, I was informed that every utility that is assessed by the town of Dunbarton was suing the town of Dunbarton. And when we set the tax rate, part of the tax rate has to do with what is called overlay. An overlay is you anticipate what you might have to refund in abatements. And so I suggested that, we were talking a lot of money, that we start putting money into overlay for when the time came that the court decisions were not favorable to us. And we started out 4 years ago with putting 50,000 in there. Well,
Yep.
I was overridden by the other selectmen. And every year since, I've mentioned to Lean that when it came time for overlay, that we should be putting something aside. No money has ever been put aside. So, this started in 2012. Last year, they settled with some of the suits. And for example, I'm not gonna put names to any of these, but one of the suits we settled with, we reduced their abatement by almost $1 million, maybe over $1 million.
That was,
Okay, I get the numbers right here, okay.
go ahead.
So I don't wanna go into details, but just last year, we lost almost $70,000 in revenue from abatements that we came to agreement, instead of going all the way to court and having the judge decide what the abatement should be, we came to an agreement with some of these utilities. And we lost $70,000 in revenue. And we also guaranteed some of these utilities that we would not touch their assessment for the next 5 years. So you're guaranteed for the next 5 years to collect $70,000 less in revenue than we did last year. And we're only talking about maybe $5 or $6 million in assessment. Two of those utilities, which we're still in court with, have a total of 18 million in assessment. I don't even want to think of, and there's a formula that they came up with to readjust these assessments. And my understanding is they're pretty much using the same formula to try and settle with these other utilities.
No, that's completely different, that's poll tax, this is utility tax, it's two different apples. The poll tax is based on the full tax rate, utility is like a reduced tax
Okay,
rate.
well, we're still in court.
Right.
So, I would hate to see what would happen to Dunbarton's tax rate if the settlements or the court was to vote anywhere near what the settlement was for these others. So I just want the other selectmen to keep in mind that we know for a fact we're losing $70,000 in revenue for the next 5 years from what we were getting last year. And we're looking at a big revenue hit if any of these are settled or favorably by the utilities in court. So I think as we're going along and trying to spend money here, we should be keeping in mind that, you know, and I've been saying this for 4 years, sooner or later, these are gonna be settled. And they're not gonna be settled in favor of Dunbarton. So if we can go on and,
So,
I mean, you know,
So what's the end game that you're trying to?
well, I think we should be really careful
Mhm.
as to what we're spending money on. I mean, last year, we spent, we asked for $400,000 in warrant articles, and only one of them was defeated, and everybody knew it wasn't gonna go anywhere, because it was done in too much of a hurry, but we spent $365,000 in warrant articles.
Right.
And our taxes would have gone way over, just for the town portion, way over $1 a thousand, but we were able to pull $150,000 out of unassigned fund balance and unexpected revenue. So we brought it down to, it was only like 46 or 47 cents a thousand increase. We don't have any more money to take out of unassigned balance, we're below what we should be as it is now.
Mhm.
So everything that you're gonna spend this year is going right to the tax rate.
Yep.
You have no
Understand.
money to try and alleviate the tax rate. So just keep that in mind as you're spending money.
Mhm. I'm not spending any money, this is for them to take, you know, and I understand where you come from. That's why it's on a warrant article for them to either raise or lower their own taxes.
But again, you have to realize, this is a warrant. A warrant is a term that was used back in the 1700s, and what it does is it warns the citizen
Mhm.
that there's a meeting to be taken,
Mhm.
and it's warning the residents that this is what we're gonna be discussing.
Mhm.
And if you're okay with everything that's in the warrant, you don't even have to bother to come if you don't want. But it doesn't say that the selectmen have to put any of these items in the warrant if they don't want it. It's the selectmen's warrant.
Mhm.
Unless it's a petitioned article, anything in this warrant
Yep.
is by the selectmen.
So I take it there's some that you wanna take out?
Well, there's some that one of them I'd like to take out, some of them I think we should reduce. And I mentioned that at the last meeting.
Mhm.
What I didn't mention last meeting, because I wasn't feeling well, is,
Mhm.
you know, remember, our revenues are not going up. They've already gone down by 70,000, guaranteed to be down by 70,000 for the next 5 years.
Mhm.
And you have the likelihood that quite a bit more might be reduced. Okay, so go ahead, I just had my say,
Yep, well, that's fine.
so that,
No
when
problem.
your taxes go up by $1 or $1.50 next year, at least you know that the selectmen have been warned.
Alrighty, number 7, to see the town will raise and appropriate sum of 25,000 for the highway capital reserve. What say you
I
folks?
say okay,
I'm okay with that.
Okay, and recommend?
I'm in favor,
Pardon? I couldn't hear you, I'm so Tom.
I'm in favor.
You?
I mean,
So am I. Alright, to raise and appropriate sum of 14,000 for the capital revaluation capital reserve fund. Okay, everybody in agreement?
Yeah, I'm okay with that, yeah,
Okay, and recommendation?
approve.
Okay, so am I. Alright. 60,000 for the fire department emergency vehicle capital reserve fund.
I'm okay with it being on the warrant.
I am
Okay,
too.
on the warrant. Or is recommendation then?
I'd like to make a motion that we reduce the amount from 60,000 to 30,000. And this warrant article is this, what do you call it, CRF?
Mm-hmm.
Was first,
60,000 to 30,000?
yes, was first introduced. For 2 years, it was 20,000. Then all of a sudden, this year, they wanna increase it to 60,000.